Hello, welcome to Joyful Journey. I'm David, this is Jorge, and today we have Mr. K here to talk about how to find support in your local community. Mr. K, what is your opinion on the importance of support in your community?
Well, so it's super important, right? Because we know that um, as individuals in our lives, we can't make it alone, right? There's not a single thing that you do that you're able to do by yourself. Whether even the things that we think like, oh man, I totally got this. We live in a society. Somebody built this house. Somebody cultivated our food. Like we're always connected, right? Um, and so when it's a matter of I want to be able to handle this myself, but I can't, right? We have this sense of um, independence about us that makes us feel like, oh man, I should be able to handle this, but I can't. That isn't always necessarily the case either, right? And so being able to have someone that you can turn to, being able to have someone that you can turn to give you that extra boost, to help you when you're down, doesn't even mean that they necessarily have to do anything for you. You still accomplish that thing. But to be able to have somebody so that you're not alone, right? Because we're not supposed to be, is so important. Um, People will try to take on the weight of the world on their own shoulders, and to to do that is heroic and incredible and awesome, and everybody wants to strive for that. But the reality is that we need each other, and so having readily accessible support makes that reality a lot more clear for folks that you tap into.
Um, what is your opinion on the importance of community? Okay, cut that. Mr. K, how could someone find support in your local community?
So, local community here, right? At DeSales, first off, like if you're a student here, you know kind of the different places you can turn to, right? We're in the chapel right across the hall. There's Miss Bowman, and there's me. Down the way around the corner, you can find different folks, and of course, all the way throughout, you've got your teachers too. And we're a small enough school. We try to foster it such that you guys can support each other, right, as brothers. I think that's important too. Um, Outside of high school, it can be a little less clear, right? You kind of start setting off on your own and you're not exactly sure where you can go. And so I encourage guys when they leave this place to go and find community, find your circle, find your people. That could be family, that could be friend group, that could be a coworker. Maybe if you go off to college, you get involved in something where it's like it's a structured thing and people, like-minded people come together. You find that community, whatever it is. A lot of times, sport doesn't have to come in a very formal sense, right? It can, and it should if that's what you need. Nobody should ever feel like they can't access support in a more formal setting, right? Therapy is not a thing to be ashamed of. It's good to have somebody who knows what they're doing. But a lot of times also it can be an informal thing. It doesn't have to be as rigorous of a thing. You just need somebody to hang out with and check in on you and make sure that you've got a reason to get out of the house and be around other folks who will notice if you're slipping and just say, hey buddy, do you need any help? And yeah, I just need a breather, you know? And that's where your circle of community comes in, right? That's where your circle of support comes in. It can look a lot of different ways, but ultimately, this is supposed to be, right, what love looks like in it. So maybe that's your teacher, maybe that's your coach, maybe that's your bus driver. It doesn't even have to be somebody who outright says, hey, I love you. It doesn't have to say those words, but if you know what it looks like, right, if you know that it looks like willing the good of the other, if you know that it looks like somebody who's patient with you, who's kind with you, who isn't jealous, right, these are the qualities that we look for. And the people who fit that bill are the ones that you can turn to. The part of the deal about being in that informal kind of circle of support is that everybody's a player in that game. So you need to be willing to show up for the people who you care about in the same way.
I feel like I find support with my local parish and the people there, and whenever I get involved and stuff. And also, yeah, the teachers and students around here, and on my archery team at this school. It's just a lot of people that I can look to help me in my times of need.
I find my support in dojo. They like really look out for me, and like I trust everyone there with like myself, and I'm very happy to be there.
That's excellent. That you guys are plugged into something that it's personally rewarding, right? Like you love Taekwondo, you love archery, but also incorporates those elements of kind of being a part of a community, part of a team, and have people that look out for you, whether that's your parish or whatever you're involved in. That's definitely really good.
What is your experience with communities you were a part of in the past?
Always try to practice what I preach, right? And the reverse of that is I'm preaching what I've practiced. I've done this, right? When I went off to college, I didn't realize at the time that I was moving out of my parents' house. I just thought, oh, I'll be gone for 2 semesters. I'll come back. It's only 2 hours away. I'll spend all summer here. But no, I didn't actually end up doing that. What I found was more opportunities to kind of spread my wings a little bit. And I can't have done that by myself. Moved 2 hours away, only knew one person, right, in the new place that I was going to be. So it's a time to let's go find some community. And I got really involved with the Newman Center campus ministry there. So much so, actually, it ended up being this is the place, this is the circle of people that I'm hanging out with all the time, right? We have lunch together, we have dinner together, we play intramurals together, volleyball, softball. Okay, I didn't really play softball, I wasn't any good. But like to be a part of something and be together ended up shaping all of my time in college and staying in town an extra 2 years after I graduated just because I'd laid down roots at that point. These are where my friends are, this is where my work is, this is where I live, this is what I do. Your mileage may vary, right? And it depends also on the kinds of things you want to try to do and where you want to go personally in your life. But when you find that thing, whatever that thing is, and you invest yourself into it, if you're open, right, to seeing how it can support you and how you can support it, that's how you start to build a life, and that's how you start to settle in. So that was huge for me and really, really formative in where I ended up going after that. Other support systems, other things I've been involved with before. In high school, I was a Boy Scout, so this was another just like weekly kind of thing, or just the occasional weekend too, where we're working together, right? And we're trying to make sure that we can get ready for that next camp out, and then when we go, then we have fun, right? But just to have guys who you can kind of riff off of a little bit, and also kind of foster that teamwork too was pretty good. I was involved in my parish youth group, which was again another big shift for me. Kind of starting to articulate my faith outside of a classroom kind of setting, which as a Catholic school kid had been the kind of thing up till then. But to kind of think more deeply on it and be more personal with it and work together with each other and exploring that was also really good. But yeah, it depends on what you want, right? Like I didn't do Taekwondo, my brother did though, right? And getting really involved in that built a lot of confidence, right? And having people around him to build him up, and in return be there for him to build was really good too. So it just kind of depends on where you're going. But again, that investment is kind of what it takes in order to reap the benefit of that support.
How could your local communities help people who can't find support?
Well, so not everybody is on their archery team, right? And not everybody has strong ties to a church community. And there are definitely folks out there who need support and aren't getting it from that informal circle. And that's where the formal circle steps in, right? Part of the thing is when we're struggling, again, kind of going back to the very beginning, we have this sense of we should be independent, right? And so that can sometimes be a barrier to finding those formal settings where we can get a little bit of help. So that's something that I think we can all kind of contribute to make it a little bit easier for people. It's just by establishing that as acceptable as a norm, right? If you need help, get help. There's no shame in it. There's no worry about it. We're all here, and we all struggle with something at some point. So if it's your turn, it's your turn. get a little bit of help and see what it can do for you. You know, just taking away some of the stigma that's attached with like, oh, I'm not good enough to be able to handle what's on my plate right now. That's not the case at all, right? Another thing about reducing those barriers too is that they already cost money. Not everybody can afford it, right? So it kind of goes back to a larger kind of justice question that affects everything in life, right? But we need to pay attention to how it affects our ability to provide support community-wide as well, right? Is there a way that we can create other spaces? Is there a way that we can make informal circles of support more accessible, right? Do I start a jogging club in the park on Saturday mornings? Anybody want to come and just like and build your circle? People who feel like they can do that should consider doing so and just inviting all comers. You see what happens to benefit other people. Volunteering is another really good one. Making sure that community centers always have what they need in order to be able to function, in order for people to be able to access them, is another good way to, again, try to bolster up those circles. Make it as accessible as we can for everybody to be able to reach. Is going to be really important.
I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to come and talk with us. And thank
Happy
you
to.
for watching. We'll see you next time on Joyful Journey.
Thanks.